OTTAR is one of those characters where you know they're definitely the strongest, but rarely if ever do we get to see them go all out. Bell's face-off against him certainly gave us a glimpse at what his true potential looks like, but even that wasn't all that he was capable of. So, while yes, Bell's Argo Vesta was on par with OTTAR's Hildis Finny, OTTAR technically could have done more to overpower Bell. The same could be said for Bell too though, since he didn't use his Grand Bell either. That's actually something I plan on talking about in this video, along with what you missed in the events leading up to this long-awaited battle. An extended breakdown of how Bell vs OTTAR went in the novels. So, to set the stage for how the overall battle was going, Hedin was skillfully routing the enemy forces with his tactics. He was waiting for the single element of uncertainty to be removed, after which he could finally send forth the power of the first tier adventurers. As for why he needed to wait, well, if there was anything in the coalition that could defeat Hegni, Allen, or the Bringar, it was Welf and his arsenal of powerful magic swords. Should one of them manage to defeat any of their first tier adventurers, then the loss of morale for the others would be unrecoverable. So that was the sole thing Hedin knew he needed to avoid, and it was most certainly what Lily was going for. It was once those magic swords were taken care of though that Hegni was sent to the center to handle close quarters combat, Allen sent behind enemy lines to quickly deal with those attacking from range, then the Gulliver brothers kept on the left wing to prevent any flanks. All went exactly as Hedin envisioned, displaying outcomes one could consider nothing less than textbook. The only piece yet to be accounted for though was a certain rabbit and its keen determination. A single level 5 who definitely wasn't gonna turn the tides of battle, but given the rules he didn't have to. No. In order for the coalition to win, all they needed to do was aim straight for the queen. It's for that reason that Hedin knew the main battle was nothing more than a decoy. He had read straight into their plans and was now simply preparing for Bell's entrance from either the north or south. This was exactly what Bell was doing, following orders to circumvent the main battlefield completely. His objective? Defeat the strongest adventurer in Arario. You see, Lily knew none of them could do anything if OTTAR was still active, so in order to try and remove him from the battlefield, Bell was sent alone since his skill was the only possible way to do that. Even now, Bell wasn't so sure that it even could, since when he thought back to his last encounter with OTTAR at the Goddess Festival, the way he was taken down so easily was quite frankly laughable. It's for that reason Bell had little hope that he could actually pull this off, but he knew he had to try anyway. It was the only thing they could do after their other trump card was defeated by Hedin. So, as Bell ran charging his skill the entire way, his own goal was to reach the person beyond OTTAR. She was the one he felt truly needed him. She may have been the cause of all this turmoil now, but what she did truly resonated deep within him. Now, despite Bell having used an item to remove his smell and the cloak to hide him from sight, he knew the closer he got, the sooner they were going to find him. The noise his skill made certainly didn't help either, especially with the loud chime it made when it reached its limit. What festered his doubt even more was the fact the opponent Bell was trying to deceive was Hedin. Knowing just how shrewd his master was, Bell had as much hope in fooling him as he did in defeating OTTAR. To him, he felt it was impossible for Hedin to not have seen this coming already. Bell still pushed forward as fast as he could regardless, eventually coming into contact with Van. I don't know if you could even consider this a warm-up though, since the cruel blessing that was Bell's level up to level 5 made this once even opponent nothing but child's play. What I mean is that the only thing Bell could feel here was sadness. He felt pity towards the sparring partner he once trained so hard with. Though his 20 days with him was in a world that was fake, the time they spent together did lead to a peculiar bond between them. Though it was time spent fighting endlessly day after day, the battles they shared in which either would come out as the winner established a connection only those on the battlefield could have. So, for Bell to face Van once again under these circumstances and do so in a way that was so one-sided, well, that just made this encounter both sad and empty. Bell couldn't help but feel pity for not being able to reciprocate Van's emotions the way he was sure Van wanted him to. Such was the difference between level 5 and level 4. What then is the difference between level 7 and level 5? Well, that massive gap is what OTTAR is here to show us. So, it was when Bell saw that he'd been found that failure was the only thing that could come to his mind. In fact, for even Lily, who was a long ways away from the battlefield, the words "the end" were the only ones which came to her mind. They were the same two words Bell's mind was overcome with as well. OTTAR had no intention of defeating Bell right away though, as what he wanted to do first was see exactly what it was Bell was capable of. This wasn't an opportunity Bell planned on passing up, but considering what a fully charged Argonaut had been shown to be capable of before, there was some brief hesitation that maybe this might be overkill. Reason being that when pushed to the absolute limit, Bell knew better than anyone that Argonaut could straight up disintegrate enemies. I mean, it was after all the strike of a hero. The absurd strength to overturn the outcome of any and every hopeless situation. This in turn made Bell doubt if it was truly okay to use it, since even if OTTAR was the strongest adventurer in Arario, to hit another person with an attack that could kill them just didn't seem right. Like, OTTAR wasn't even wearing any armor to protect himself. All he had were these light armaments barely providing any sort of coverage. So, as Bell deeply contemplated whether or not Argonaut would kill the enemy in front of him, OTTAR reminded him that that wasn't something he needed to be concerned about. As if to usher Bell forward, OTTAR immediately started chanting the spell for his Hildis Vini enchantment, a short and simple chant that empowers his attack much like how Argo Vesta does for Bell, coating his weapons with the golden light we saw in the anime. All it does is amplify OTTAR's power, but when combined with the absurd strength this maxed out level 7 adventurer is known to possess, it becomes a truly killer move that could defeat pretty much anyone. That just makes Bell's own attack all the more impressive, since his level 5 attack had effectively the same power as OTTAR's enhanced level 7. Keep in mind, Bell's Argo Vesta isn't even his true full power, since Argo Vesta isn't the same as his limit-off Grand Bell version. You see, where the Grand Bell variant allows Bell to charge his skill past what his level 5 limitations allow it to, this dual charge Argo Vesta is restricted by them. We've only seen Bell use this Grand Bell charge a couple of times before, but had he gone and decided to use it here, then this limit-breaking version of Argonaut would have been far more powerful. Why then did he decide not to use it? Well, that was simply due to a matter of longevity. What I mean is that if Bell had proceeded to activate his Grand Bell charge, that would require cancelling his current charge and starting all over again. It would result in him losing all the stamina and mind he'd already put into his first charge, something he couldn't afford to give up considering the fight that likely awaited him even after this. So, even if Bell did somehow manage to defeat OTTAR using his Grand Bell charge, the cost of achieving it would have resulted in their overall loss anyway. He wouldn't have been able to fight any of the other first-tier adventurers after. That's why Bell settled with his dual-charge Argo Vesta instead, imbuing the firebolt-infused longsword OTTAR so kindly gave him, then maxing it out with a newly improved charge time of 5 minutes. It was here that Bell no longer felt any hesitation, since the moment he saw OTTAR power up with the golden gleam of Hildis Vini, that's when he realized he couldn't afford to hesitate. As soon as he sensed how much power lay behind such an oppressive aura, Bell knew he needed to muster up everything. OTTAR then went on to mimic the exact same stance Bell chose to face him with, since if this truly was a test of power and power alone, then everything needed to be equal. With their equipment negligent and weapons identical, the only thing that mattered now was strength, magic, and the raw power behind it. So, it's once Bell was ready and the two finally engaged that a couple differences could be found in the aftermath. The clash did break their swords right upon impact, but what proceeded immediately after was complete and utter silence. Bell couldn't be certain for sure, but after a shockwave so massive, he felt like the entire island had gone quiet. It was as if everyone had just stopped fighting for a second. This was actually exactly what had happened, since the moment Bell and OTTAR clashed swords, the earth-shattering thundercrack silenced everyone. The rumbling destruction it produced gripped every heart that could feel it. This caused every person fighting to instantly pause what they were doing, then quickly turn around towards the amphitheater wondering what just happened. It was only those familiar to such power that remained unfazed by it. The rest grew pale or gulped out of anxiousness. Now, I wish they had shown OTTAR actually get pushed back, since by the time Bell had come to and realized what was happening, OTTAR was still pulling himself out of the rubble. He wasn't just standing in the same spot like how we saw in the anime. Yes, he was for the most part unscathed, but I personally think it would have been cool to see his part of the impact and immediate recovery after. Something more than just the implication of one. Like, I'm sure some people probably thought OTTAR just tanked it right where he was. As for what he actually did, well, in the novels he emerged slowly and menacingly from the crater in the wall he left behind. Kinda like Boros during his fight with Saitama. In any case, Bell's attack did in fact surpass OTTAR's. The full charge Argovesta did match up with Hilda's Finny, but considering how Bell was only level 5, if he was level 7 then a full charge Argovesta would be way stronger. That's why Bell's Grand Bell Argonaut is such a game changer. It's tough to say if it would have defeated OTTAR here, but since it does allow Bell to go past the limits restricting his power to level 5, there's a pretty decent chance he could've. This, however, isn't something Bell would be able to find out since the only free hit he was getting was that. So, as much as Bell wanted to just turn and run away now, he knew that if he did, OTTAR would just kill him. Fleeing wasn't a luxury Bell could afford anymore. No, the only option was to fight till his inevitable defeat. It was as Bell did that Ice could only watch with regret. Seeing Bell get battered to a pulp frustrated her to the point that the clenched fist she was making had actually caused her to bleed. Tiona also grew pale knowing this was the cost of staying on the sidelines. So, just the lightest of attacks would send Bell flying into rubble, remnants of the amphitheater that was there only moments ago. It was destruction that should have indicated the presence of a heated battle, but OTTAR somehow remained unscratched through all of it. In fact, when Bell had used his remaining strength to send off one last firebolt, it wasn't OTTAR's equipment that allowed him to deflect it, it was simply OTTAR himself. As if swatting away an insect, OTTAR dispersed Bell's flames like they were nothing. A simple flick of the wrist was all it took. When it came to OTTAR's next attack, which turned Bell into a hammer, by all means it should have knocked Bell out, but it was the merciless stomp after that prevented him from doing so. Where Heath was able to resurrect people through healing, OTTAR did so through pain and attacks. It was a warrior's baptism from the strongest adventurer in Arario, the fate awaiting those who dared to challenge the battle-hardened veteran from the Great War 7 years ago. As the embodiment of the summit every adventurer strived for, it couldn't be helped that those who watched him did so with both fear and awe. He was, after all, the king, the level 7 warlord from the Freya Familia. So that's pretty much how the battle is going so far. There's plenty more yet to come, but for now it's not really looking good for the Hestia Familia. I'm actually very curious to see how Bell plans on making it out of this. He's gonna need a lot more than just the help of a few adventurers. In the meantime, I'm gonna continue making more of this type of video, so if you liked what you saw then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can also watch more DanMachi videos here. Until next time though, ciao!